Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 28th day of November, 2018. Well, today would be a one-day numerologically, so new beginnings. 8 and 2 is 10, so that reduces to 1 in this year and month of illumination. So how shall we begin anew today? Since it's Wednesday, we're looking at communication for today as a theme. Mercury is its ruler. That would be an air sign as well. Air, or not an air sign, an air element, rather. We got to go on our walk today. I don't think it's going to rain today. It's threatening to, but it's not showing that there's any, it's calling for any precipitation. So yesterday was quite a bit. We've been having quite a bit of wind too. And that's typical on the high desert, a lot of wind, but sometimes it's everywhere and you can't get away from it. So there's lots of noise at night. Instead of being able to go to sleep, it's like, oh, what was that? Well, we'll shuffle a little bit more and get going this morning. I've got a tarot post I'm going to put up today. It's on the, I'm using the my Thoth deck, and I really, really love that deck. It has an energy to it that other decks just don't have, and it's one of those decks that you either love it or you don't. And I think you have to, if you're used to cards like this, then to go to something like, this, for example, you're maybe not too sure what to do with it. This, of course, is my favorite card, all-time favorite card of the tarot. This is the Queen of Swords in the Thoth deck. She's got a sword in one hand and a severed head in the other, and I don't know. It's just my card, so I love it. And then the other one from the reading is going to be adjustment. One of the things Crowley does is he moves cards around. Normally, the eighth card would be strength. He moves it to 11 and calls it lust. And this is adjustment, which would normally be card 11. But he puts it at 8. I just think it's gorgeous. The blues are just incredible in it. But it's about balance and all of that. She balances actually on the tip of her sword. It's just so very cool. Lady Frida Harris painted the cards. And when you read Lon Milo DuQuette's book on this deck, he includes discussions, letters between Crowley and Lady Frida Harris. And some of the things that she says to him are just amazing. So the book is worth reading, simply because it's a wonderful treatise on this deck and what Crowley was thinking and how it compares to other things and whatnot. But just to read it for what he includes that she's written is wonderful. So besides, he's a good writer, so I like reading his stuff. So let's count 13 and see what we have for today. Well, we're going to draw another card. It's the Queen of Cups. Got a bit of a glare there from that candle. But she sits on her throne next to the water's edge. The cup that she's using, that she's holding right there, is really ornate, if you can see that. And it's almost alive, really. You can see the crescent moons and the cross on the top. You see the cherubs adorning her chair. Cups is the water element, so are emotions. But that's just a cool chair. But she sits next to the water. It almost looks like she merges with it, doesn't it? But the queen is emotional. She's empathic. She's intuitive. She's thought to be a natural witch. She's somebody that oh, there goes my light. Um, the court cards, you're either looking at the individual on the cards. So in this case, it would be an older woman, one with authority. She's but it could also mean the qualities of it, so of the individual on the card. So you're looking at someone who's dreamy and impressionable, um, usually patient. She's a healer. Again, she's intuitive. She's reflective. Um, you know, when you think about water, you think of reflection. She might be somebody that has trouble setting boundaries because she is so emotional. But let's take a look at the fact that she's, and the other thing is the directionality of these cards. You know, if they're looking straight on you, they're looking at you, they're standing in their own power. If they're looking down, then maybe they're thinking about something, they're reflecting on something. If they're looking to the left on the card, then they're looking toward the past, to the right, to the future. So you know, here she's kind of immersed in her own thought process, isn't she? Maybe her own emotions are just she's just overwhelmed by them, maybe, or she's just thinking about them, and she's not really focused on the future. She's looking down, and maybe she's thinking about the past and thinking about her life or something like that. But there's not a sense of movement with her. What I always get with the Queen of Cups is someone that's pretty self-contained, and even though they're compassionate and generous and loving and all of that, there's a lot of emotion inside of them. So, and sometimes that gets stuck there. So let's count 13 again and see if we can give a little more information to the Queen of Cups. Well, okay, we have some betrayal, maybe some jealousy with the three of swords here, piercing this heart. So perhaps she's experiencing some sorrow, maybe. That could be why she's sitting there being reflective, trying to think about, okay, how did I get here? And where do I go from this point forward? You know, trying to figure out how she feels about something that just happened. Perhaps we've experienced some betrayal. Perhaps there's basically maybe someone we're experiencing some jealousy towards somebody, or someone is experiencing jealousy toward us. Um, it's a weird place when someone is feeling jealousy about you, because 9 times out of 10 you're thinking, well, why? You know, you can't figure out why they feel that way about you, but maybe you've achieved something that they're envious of, or maybe you know someone that has achieved something that you're feeling envy over. But clearly the queen is feeling reflective and pensive because something has happened in her life that's caused her some heartache. And so there could be some miscommunication, there could be some uneasiness with some other people. Maybe there's some issues with family or close friends. Maybe a partner is having some issues with you, or you're having issues with a partner. Maybe your communication is not what it should be. So, because you're looking at swords, which is the air sign, and that's communication. So you're looking at head and heart basically here, intellect versus emotions. And so that could be at odds for her right now. You know, you're looking at, in this particular card, you're looking at rain in the background from clouds that surround the top part of the card. And so you're looking at things that are really not known. You've got issues going on here, conflict, a drama triangle, perhaps, but a lot of it is unknown. And so she's probably sitting here trying to figure this out, going within, perhaps, maybe aligning and going in meditatively and trying to either find some inner balance to all of this, try to find some answers, or perhaps to extend that blessing of understanding to those involved, you know, energetically. So that could be another thing. Because even if you can't talk to somebody about what your problem is with them, or the problem that exists between all of you, or the two of you, you can at least go inward meditatively and and formulate that intention of healing and love and understanding and truth and harmony, and then cast that intention energetically to the other person. They will feel it. They may not understand what they're feeling, but they're going to feel it. And so who knows? It could have a positive effect on whatever communication breakdown or whatever reason that's gone awry, or something. But something is clearly wrong here, and the queen is either trying to figure it out, or she's just, dealing with it as best she can. Misunderstandings happen between friends, between colleagues, in families. They happen. Sometimes it's best, particularly, if it's between parent and child, or between siblings, or whatever it is. It's not worth abandoning one another. It's at least not usually. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be really bad, but and it does cause a division that doesn't heal, and maybe that's for the best. But most of the time, our egos get in the way, and something happens, and we just call a halt to things, and that's really not necessarily what needs to happen. Typically, what needs to happen is, well, let's talk about this and see what happened, and see if anything really did happen. A lot of the times we come up with this stuff on our own. We decide something happened, we decide there's a problem, when really there isn't. Or we think, well, so and so thinks this about that, and they don't. So we decide a lot of things, don't we? And then we end up being wrong. And so a lot of time is wasted, some heartbreak happens, and none of it is really necessary. So it could just be that today what we need to do is, if we're experiencing this conflict with others, just go inward and be reflective and see if maybe you can cast the intention of harmony, to the other individuals in question. Here we have Sawillo, whose ruler is the sun. Here we have catalytic energy. It is the 16th rune of the Elder Futhark, so we're looking at a 7 energy, so magic and balance. You can kind of see that in the sigil itself, can't you? Because you see the center line there, the horizontal line, and then hopefully I've drawn them both equally, the top and the bottom ones. But yeah, Sawillo is catalytic. It is the rune of higher. It can be considered the rune of the higher self. It can be considered the rune of will, and a fire element rune, basically. But you're looking at things in also in balance too. You want to express your will in a balanced way. And I wanted to look here in the rune of higher self. It strengthens, if you're going to use it in a bind rune, it can provide some catalytic energy for that. I mean, it's healing, self-confidence, protection. It really is as above, so below type of energy. It's about light and dark, um, spirit and form. And you see that again in just the way that it's drawn. You've got the horizontal plane, which separates, as above with so below. And whatever you want to put there, whether it's spirit and form, spirit and ego, however you want to see it, the idea is to, with intention, with will, to bring all of that into balance, and then use that as the beacon to light your way. I mean, essentially. Very similar to, well, it'd be part of Kenaz, wouldn't it? You could see part of Kenaz, or an odd-looking Kenaz. But it's an interesting rune. And you could actually draw Kenaz down here and Kenaz out here, and you would have, you know what you would have then? You would have Ingwas. If you draw Ingwas in a way that is two X's on top of one another. If you don't draw it as a diamond, then that's what you'd have. If you extended, I'll show you. Let me see if I can get something to do that with. Oh, I'll use this. Okay. I don't have, well, I probably have a set of runes that have Kenaz, or rather Ingus drawn that way, or Ingwas drawn that way, but usually I draw it as a diamond now. But if you see here, okay, if you were to take here and have this be part of Kenaz and draw it up here, oops, you can't see. So anyway, you draw it up here and then take this one and draw it down there, then that's, well, you can't see it at all. Never mind. I tried. Anyhow. I only have so much of a screen here. But anyway, you get the idea. The idea about runes is a lot of them, and that's why they lend themselves to bind runes so well, is because they flow into one another. You can see different runes contained within the other ones. And so, you know, you look at Ophala, for example, and you see that the diamond, if you draw Ingwas that way, and then down below you have the X, which is Gebo. And so you can see how these things relate to one another. But basically, if you want to try to bring an end to a difficult situation you're having with someone else, then you could theoretically use the energy of Sawillo to then cast the intention of harmony and healing and love and unity. You know, you want to do this energetically. If you can't talk to the person, if for some reason they won't talk to you, or things have just broken down maybe, or maybe there's been no discussion at all. It's just a bad situation and no one's talking to one another and no one knows why. Or maybe one party doesn't know why. Whatever it is, you can use Sawillo as a catalytic energy to break through all of that stuckness that's going on here, because here we're stuck, aren't we? Whatever's going on, you know, no one's listening to one another. They're just piercing the heart. And we need to not do that. And so in order to get that to release, you know, you can use Sawillo's energy to do that. So you could then, what you could do then for today then is set some time aside to meditate, go inward, visualize what you want, visualize it already occurring as if the problem is gone. You can chant Sawillo as you do this, and then cast that visualization, that intention into the universe, and then sit back and see what happens. Assume that it's completed. Assume that it worked. Don't ever doubt it. When we work on the energetic level, we can accomplish far more sometimes than we do, you know, interacting. It's just a more real place to be. I know that sounds odd, but it is a more real place to be. There's more truth there than there ever is in the body, okay? You know, in the body, the ego is part of that. In spirit, that doesn't exist. So, you know, that's an issue here of form. And it just gets in the way, doesn't it? We start thinking things are a certain way, they're not, and then maybe a lot of pain gets caused. It didn't need to happen. So for today, then, I would just say, if you're experiencing these things in your life where, you know, there's some things going on you don't quite understand, you'd like to see a resolution to, and it just isn't happening, things just feel stuck, then take a moment to go inward and chant Sawillo, visualize the whole scenario result in complete resolution. Not that it's happening, don't see it happen, don't see it resolve, see it as resolved. And chant Sawillo while you do that, and see if you can't affect some change that's positive in your life. So anyhow, thanks so much for stopping by. If it's your first time, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back. Click subscribe on the channel if you like. I'd love you to do that. The Thoth reading is going to be up sometime today, and on the blog, Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com. So go over there and check that out if you like. I'd love you to do that. And But anyway, have a wonderful day. Be good to yourself, be good to others, and blessed be.